Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, welcome. My name is Angela. I'm a full-time voiceover artist and audiobook narrator, and my channel is dedicated to those of you that are just getting started out in this wonderful world of voiceover and audiobook narration. And through my channel, I share with you some of the techniques I use every day in my own voiceover business, and I answer your questions. So, I've noticed in the last week or so that I've had quite a few people asking me about creating a sample for ACX for narrating audiobooks when you have done nothing. Before you have nothing on your resume in terms of audiobook narration, and you need something to post onto ACX or other platforms to showcase your narrating abilities. So that's what we're going to talk about today. And if you're ready, I'm ready. Let's get into it. Okay, so first and foremost, I'm having a bad hair day. I can't get it to do anything, so it's up. Plus, I get to show up show off. Oh, it's over here. Show off my cool Bride of Frankenstein gray streak going there. You know. But the first thing we're going to do is to go find something to narrate. All right. So the first thing you're going to do, or let me just at least tell you, this is what I did. If you go to Gutenberg.org, this is a website that hosts all the books here are in the public domain. I'm pretty sure they all are, but just make sure that you double check. I'm pretty sure that they all are, but these are books that are no longer under any kind of copyright law. So there's a lot of classics in here. There aren't a whole lot of contemporary works because being out of copyright is so many years after the author's death or so many years after it's been published. So these are typically older works of literature and other types of books that are no longer under copyright. So these are free to use for your samples. So let's just select one. So I'm just going to go up to search and browse, and let's just see what frequently downloaded. Okay, so these are the top 100 ebooks yesterday. So it looks like we have Christmas Carol, Pride and Prejudice, Frankenstein, The Adventures of Sherlock Holmes, Alice's Adventures in Wonderland, Moby Dick, Green Sea Island, A Tale of Two Cities, Crime and Punishment, Dracula, Scarlet Letter. We've got a lot of great classics that are in here. The Great Gatsby. Let's see, The Iliad. Wow, we've got Little Women. There's a lot of good stuff in here. Adventures of Huckleberry Finn. 'Twas the Night Before Christmas. I think, Metamorphosis. It's one of my favorites. Okay, let's do 'Twas the Night Before Christmas. There's a plane overhead. I don't know if you can hear it. Okay, so I selected 'Twas the Night Before Christmas, and then I am going to just read this book online. And then I'm just going to scroll down to where the book begins. Here's the introduction. So I'm just going, actually, no, I'm going to go a little bit further down. I'm going to start here. Okay, and now we're going to start our recording software. I use Adobe Audition and recommend it for all voiceover artists. So I'm going to start a new file, hit new audio file, and I'm just going to call this one ACX. Actually, no, I'm going to call it ACX sample. 'Twas the night before Christmas. Did I spell that right? Yes, I did. Okay. And I like to upload my samples, auditions, anything to do with audiobooks in the correct format for audiobooks. That way it sounds exactly like the author is going to expect it to. If they hear your sample and they go, ooh, I like the way that sounds, you want it to sound exactly how the finished product is going to sound, right? So let's start there. Actually, let me just go back. The sample type is going to be 44 100 hertz. Mono is usually, you can send it as either stereo or mono. I always like to keep all my audiobook files mono so they're all consistent. 16-bit. And for now, it's going to be WAV, but it will be MP3. It'll be completely formatted correctly at the very end, but we're going to start with this here. Okay, so I'm going to start recording, and then I can cut out my blah, blah, blah at the beginning. I'll show you what I mean. But I'm going to start recording. And then now we're going to go over to, okay. 'Twas the night before Christmas, when all through the house not a creature was stirring, not even a mouse. The stockings were hung by the chimney with care, in hopes that St. Nicholas soon would be there. The children were nestled all snug in their beds, while visions of sugar plums danced in their heads. And Mamma in her kerchief, and I in my cap, had just settled our brains for a long winter's nap. When out on the lawn there arose such a clatter, I sprang from the bed to see what was the matter. Away to the window I flew like a flash, tore open the shutters, and threw up the sash. The moon on the breast of the new fallen snow gave the luster of midday to objects below, when what to my wondering eyes should appear but a miniature sleigh and 8 tiny reindeer. With a little old driver, so lively and quick, I knew in a moment it must be St. Nick. More rapid than eagles his coursers they came, and he whistled and shouted and called them by name. Now Dasher, now Dancer, now Prancer and Vixen, on Comet, on Cupid, on Donner and Blitzen. To the top of the porch, to the top of the wall, now dash away, dash away, dash away all. As dry leaves that before the wild hurricane fly, when they meet with an obstacle, mount to the sky. So up to the housetop the coursers they flew, with the sleigh full of toys, and St. Nicholas too. Okay, I think I'm going to end it there. Okay, so we have, after this is all cleaned up, there should be about 2 minutes of audio. And usually samples and auditions for that matter, I usually make them between 3 to 5 minutes maybe at most. So 2 minutes is fine. That gives the listener a little bit of an idea of how I approach things, how I sound. And of course, this would probably be more for a children's book, right? So, and I don't really have a whole lot of children's book samples, so this would be good in that respect. So let's go ahead and process this puppy. So the first thing I'm going to do is put my ears on so I can hear what I'm doing. All right, cool. Okay, and now, all right, so first I'm going to remove when I'm talking to you at the very beginning. And then now we're going to, 'twas the night before. Okay, so there's the very beginning of the sample. So I'm just going to select all of this that shouldn't be there and hit delete. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is I have an audiobook preset in my Adobe Audition effects rack, and that is in my presets here. And if you haven't seen any of my videos on how to create an effects rack, I will go ahead and put the card up above for you to go check out that video as well. But I have this one, I have this new one as Audiobook 2. So I'm going to select that one. And this is just an NS1 mono. This is this plugin, NS1 mono, is from Waves. It's a great noise reduction plugin. As you can see, I don't have a ton of noise in this room. It's mainly mouth noise and a little bit of the computer I can see being picked up back there. But this will help reduce some of the ambient noise in the room, and it's really, really great noise reduction plugin. And then I know it's RX7, there's RX8 now, but I'm kind of the ideology, if it's not broke, don't fix it. I could upgrade to Isotope's RX7, but RX7 still works fine for me, so I'm sure I'll eventually update it, but hey. All right, so I have the advanced Isotope suite, which I purchased about a year ago, so I have all of the plugins from Isotope. So I use the Mouth Declick, which is one of the best plugins that I have found thus far for removing particularly mouth noise. Because as humans, we have sticky mouths, we can't help it. And this helps reduce some of the, see, there's a mouth click there. It gets rid of these, right? So it's a great plugin. And then the other one I have on here is a deplosive. Even though I speak off axis from the mic, meaning I'm not directly in front of it, if I speak off axis, any of my plosives, the air will go more or less this way instead of directly into the mic. So that in itself reduces plosives. However, sometimes I get a little animated and I want to add just a light deplosive also, just to make sure that I catch any and all plosives that end up in my audio. So that will reduce those as well. And then I have a parametric equalizer that is also in Adobe Audition that I had Tim Tippett help me design this one, particularly for my voice. So I use that. And then I also have this CLA Vocals, which is another, just gives a little extra bass compression, treble boost, a little boost to the highs and lows of my voice, which I like the sound of. And then I also have a denoise in here. And I don't use the denoise all the time, but I use it particularly for audiobooks because, as you know, we have to have a particular noise floor. There's a noise floor requirement for ACX. So just a little bit of a noise reduction on top of the NS1 just helps to get me there to fit that standard for the noise floor. So I'm going to apply this now. Take a sip of coffee. Okay, now my rack is applied. Now I'm going to go through and edit it and remove some of the big breaths. I'm always asked about breaths in audiobook narration, and I think a natural breath is fine, or a natural breath sized pause gives it a nice human touch. But the big breaths I would definitely take out if they're distracting, but a natural breath I think is perfectly fine to leave in there. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to copy. I'm going to select some of this room tone here. And looking at my duration down here in the bottom right corner, I'm going to select about, looks like I can only get a good clean room tone sample of about 0.233 seconds. That's okay. I'm going to copy that. And for ACX, your narration needs to fall between 0.5 seconds and a second, which is this area here. So as we can see, my narration starts before that. So I need to add in room tone to push everything back into that zone where the narration needs to start. So I'm going to paste in that room tone I just copied until my narration starts right within this area, which it does, but I'm going to push it just a little bit further so it's not like right on the mark, because I don't want the software to go, hey, you're outside of the parameters. So I'm going to just paste in a little bit more room tone. Now let's check. There's a half a second. There's a second. So my narration starts like right in the middle of where it's supposed to. So that's fine with me. I'm going to leave it there. Okay. And now I'm going to go through and just, with the spectral display, which is this area down here, I'm just going to look for anything that's not supposed to be there, like big breaths, mouth noise, right? So let's just go ahead and, of course, and remove any mistakes. I don't think I made any in this one, but just to double check that there's nothing in there that shouldn't be in there. So let's listen to this now. 'Twas the night before Christmas, when all through the house not a creature was stirring, not even a mouse. The stockings were hung by the chimney with care, in hopes that St. Nicholas soon would be there. There was a little baby mouth click there. You could see it right there. So I'm going to take my healing brush, and then I'm going to just run it right over that mouth noise click there. Perfect. The children were nestled all snug in their beds. Okay, even though there are pauses between the stanzas of this, I am still going to reduce the pause a little bit, because in samples, when someone's listening to dozens of samples trying to find the right voice, you definitely don't want to make them wait. Usually with auditions, I try to reduce the pauses, but not too much. I mean, you don't want to leave too much pause in there, because that you want that potential client to hear your voice without waiting too long, because they might lose interest and go on to somebody else. So even though there's a nice little pause between the stanzas in this, I'm just going to delete some of that pause to give the impression of a pause, but not make them wait too long. I hope that makes sense. The children were nestled all snug in their beds, while visions of sugar plums danced in their heads. And Mama in her kerchief. See, there's a little bit too much of a pause there. I'm just going to reduce that a little bit. And Mama in her kerchief, and I in my cap, had just settled our brains for a long winter's nap. All right, this is a big pause and a little bit of a, I think that was that mouth noise we were looking at earlier. So I'm just going to get rid of whatever's remaining of that and reduce that pause. When out on the lawn, there arose such a clatter. I sprang from the bed to see what was the matter. Away to the window I flew like a flash, tore open the shutters, and threw up the sash. Okay, another big pause. I'm just going to get rid of some of this room tone. The moon on the breast of the new fallen snow gave the luster of midday to objects below. When, what to my wondering eyes should appear but a miniature sleigh and 8 tiny reindeer. Okay, again, I'm going to reduce this pause. With a little old driver, so lively and quick, I knew in a moment it must be Saint Nick. More rapid than eagles, his coursers they came. There's another little mouth click there. I can see it and hear it. I'm just going to spot heal that out. And he whistled and shouted and called them by name. Another, you can actually see that breath there. I'm going to just get rid of that breath. And it's also in a pause. So at the same time, I'm going to reduce or remove this big breath and this pause. Now Dasher, now Dancer, now Prancer and Vixen. On Comet, on Cupid, on Donner and Blitzen. Again, I can see a big breath there and reduce this pause. I'm just going to cut that out. To the top of the porch, to the top of the wall. Now dash away, dash away, dash away all. Another big pause. I'm just going to reduce that, delete it. As dry leaves that before the wild hurricane fly, when they meet with an obstacle, mount to the sky. So up to the housetop the coursers they flew, with the sleigh full of toys, and St. Nicholas too. Okay, I think okay, so that's the end. I was talking to you guys again, so I'm just going to cut that out. Now, at the end of your file for ACX requirements, you need to have at least 1 second to 5 seconds of room tone at the end. So let's select what we have here and see how long it is. So using my duration counter down here, I am not even 1 second of room tone. So using that room tone that we copied earlier, I'm just going to paste it in here. And I might have to do this actually a couple times to get to at least 1 second. All right, let's see how much we have now. Okay, so we have second 0.381. So I'm just going to add a little bit more. Okay, perfect. Now, my last step is going to normalize this to -3 dB and then check the RMS. So let's first go up to favorites and hit normalize to -3 dB. Now I'm going to go over to amplitude statistics. And if you don't have this feature in your Adobe Audition yet, you just go up to Window and click Amplitude Statistics. Amplitude statistics, and then you just pull that little window into this window here, and it should dock it here with your effects rack. So with amplitude statistics and this file highlighted or selected, I'm going to scan this selection, and I'm going to look at this top number, which is your peak amplitude, which should be at -3 dB or slightly below, because -3 dB is the absolute loudest it could be. You don't want to go any higher than that. And then the other number you're going to look at is your total RMS amplitude. And this file comes in at -23.56, which, as we know, is a little bit too low. So your file needs to be between -18 and -23 to fit within ACX parameters. So I'm going to have to adjust this file a little bit before we can send this off to make sure that it's in ACX required parameters, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to undo the normalize by going over here in history down here and going back a step. And typically what the culprit is throwing your RMS off are large peaks. And as we can see here, looking at this file, we can see that these 3 peaks here are a little bit higher than the rest of these here. So I'm just going to adjust these peaks a little bit. Just draw down the volume a little bit of each of these. And you can also try to add a little bit of compression too. I don't have this problem a lot, but once in a while it happens if I get a little animated. But usually applying a little bit of compression to the overall file will help prevent this from happening. Okay, let's just reduce this one just a little bit. Okay, now that I've reduced those and they're not as high as they were, I'm going to normalize to -3 dB again. And then I'm going to retest it. Now, my peak amplitude is at -3 dB because we just normalized to -3 dB. And then I'm looking at my total RMS amplitude again. And now I'm down to -22.41. Now I'm within ACX's parameters for RMS. So this file is perfectly good, ready to go to ACX now. So the last thing I'm going to do then is to save this file as an MP3. And then just double check before you send it anywhere that it is still at 44/100 hertz, mono or stereo, whatever your preference is, 16-bit for the sample rate. And then hit OK. And now we can upload this sample to ACX. And there you go. After you've done a few different types of genres that are in Gutenberg.org, you can have some samples to start with. And then once you start to get some titles under your belt, then you can make a little small compilation of all the books that you've narrated and make that into a demo. And then once you have even more titles under your belt, you can start to separate them by genre, right? You can have a children's book demo, you can have a self-help demo, you can have a fiction, nonfiction, historical fiction, whatever kind of demo you want to make. But to get started, Project Gutenberg has been a huge resource for material for creating samples that are not under kind of copyright law. So I hope that helps get you started in audiobook narration. If you enjoyed this or found this helpful, please hit the like and subscribe buttons. I really appreciate that. If you'd like to know more about me, my work, or how I can help you get started in voiceover or audiobook narration, please check out my website at voiceoverangela.com. Thank you so much for your time, as always, and happy holidays. And I'll see you on the next one. Bye.